Hope you're having a great week, everyone. Thank you for spending part of it with us on this new edition of Rams Revealed. And we've got a first-time guest, 24-year-old rookie, a top 100 pick, and one of the most engaging and talented Rams I've had the privilege of sitting down with, Kobie Turner, the conductor, which we will get to during this episode. Good to see you, Kobie.
Good to see you too. Thank you for having me.
So your first visit to our player podcast, here's the game plan. I think we should start with some football first, talk about the most recent game, the upcoming contest against the Steelers, and then we'll dig into your background and personal story a bit and finish with your passion for music.
Yes, sir.
That sound good?
Sounds great.
All right, let's go back to week 6 and a second half shutout against the Arizona Cardinals to get to 3-3. Your reaction a day later?
Yeah, I think in the first half, there's a lot of plays that we just made, or, we gave up a lot of opportunities. And so being able to come back out of the half and correct some of those, that put us in a lot better position. Credit to the Cardinals too. They're a good team as well. And Josh Dobbs was, threatening us all day with his feet. So, but definitely when we came back and made those corrections, it turned out a lot better.
Help me with MA. Missed assignments?
Missed assignments.
I'm going to try that at home. I'm going to put that on my watch to be like, hey, that's an MA on me. I'll see you in the second half and see how that goes over.
Yeah, that should work.
A career high 56 snaps for you. I think we all had a feeling that might be the case after Bobby Brown got hurt a week prior. Were you braced for that? Yeah,
I was ready. I fully kind of expected that after Bobby went down. So just the next man up, mentality, and, grateful that we were able to go out there and accomplish what we did.
But I'm sure when you're like suck and win, you're like, hey, offense, could we get a first down maybe?
Yeah.
And, mitigate this time of possession deficit, which they did a good job of in the second half.
They did. And trying to chase Josh. I mean, I wasn't very successful in catching him any of those times, but you definitely would have wished that maybe he would have thrown the ball out or went down in the pocket or something, but that's our job anyway.
I mean, how about that back-to-back-to-back when you think about it, right? Richardson in Indianapolis, Hurts last week against the Eagles, and now Dobbs. A couple of those third down scrambles were incredible.
Yeah, a lot of running quarterbacks, and, that was a challenge that we had going into this week was, on our rush plan, and that's something that we are going to continue to clean up, but definitely is a little bit difficult facing those guys who really get outside the pocket on you.
Kobie, thank you for that segue. Getting more pressure on the quarterback from more sources, I know, has been a focal point for this defense. And I think you took a step in the right direction collectively against the Cardinals. I have 22 pressures, 9 hits on the quarterback, 2 sacks, and the forced fumble. Yeah. Do you feel like numerous individuals and the collective unit made strides in week 6?
Yeah, I definitely think we did. And I think going back to the rush plan, when we executed it really well. We worked really well together on some of those games to get the quarterback off the spot. And then when it was time for great players to be great, obviously 80 doing his thing, Jonah doing his thing, making his plays. And Jonah is awesome. He's a really good player, and I've enjoyed, being able to watch his process and watch him go to work and get some of that shine now. He had been in more on some of those rundowns, but for him to be able to pick up a sack, that was big time. And then, of course, BY coming off the edge, doing what he does and making a big play when we needed it.
Those stunts, those games, oftentimes you're pairing with Aaron. What's that like as a rookie to have 80, 99 be a part of your rush plan? Yeah,
it's really cool. And it can be stressful at times if you let it, if you overthink it. But in a lot of those games and stunts, he is directly counting on me to get his pass rush going. So I have to do my job, and then he's able to go and do what he does to get to the quarterback. So it's really cool, when we're able to work in tandem and get to the quarterback. And on some of those ones that I wanted back and where I'd mess up, sometimes I can be like, man, this is his time to shine. This is his time to get after the passer. I got to continue to be better. But it's really cool.
Excuse me, I honestly don't recall if you were on the field at this particular pass rush, but he was standing up as like a joker linebacker at one point. Were you in on that?
Yes,
one?
I was.
Okay, was that planned? Was that
it was definitely planned?
Okay,
it's kind of cool seeing our defensive staff just figure out ways to give the offensive line communication problems, because if he's always lining up at 3, then they can just ID there, slide to him. Now you got him lining up at the 3, at the wide 5. Now you have him lining up as a backer. It's like, which way do we go?
I mean, I almost fell out of the booth when I saw that. So I can only imagine what the Cardinals offensive line was thinking. I only have one criticism of your performance the other day, which I thought was great. You can't let Quentin Lake beat you to that fumble.
Yeah.
You're too big and you're too nimble. He owes you that one.
He does. No, that was bad. I saw the ball come out, and the whole time I'm looking in front of me, and I'm like, there's nobody there. I'm going to scoop and score. I'm going to scoop and score.
Oh, you're thinking touchdown.
Yes, I'm thinking touchdown. And then I start running sideways, and he's coming at a perpendicular angle, and so is my Cardinals, I think, running back. And so I reach in, and I just get smacked. I mean, I get absolutely destroyed. Some of the offensive linemen today, they're like, you had a fun time with that fumble recovery. We saw you. Face mask was up, chin strap was hanging off, but glad we came away with that one for sure.
I am too, and I'm happy for Quentin. He's got a great connection to the Steelers organization. Looking forward to seeing him take on Pittsburgh. Likewise for you. Hey, how did it feel to be on the sideline as a defense when Kyren Williams has a career performance like that? The offensive line starts to get some traction and starts to take some air out of the football like they did in the second half.
It was incredible. Coach Ross says, we perform at our best when we're sitting on the bench. Like when the defense isn't out there, we're having a crazy game. Yep. But just to be able to watch the O-line and the tight ends and even the receivers working on those blocking, and seeing Kyren, make all those cuts even today in the team meeting, being able to see just how precise he was with everything. I was like, it's incredible. And, to be able to march down the field too, a lot of those drives coming out of the second half felt like our offense was imposing their will. And that's something that's really empowering, and it gives a lot of energy to the defense as well. Because, of course, you can make big plays, you can make big-time throws. We all enjoy those, and those are awesome as well. But when you're just marching, and it's a 7-yarder, then it's a 14-yarder, then it's then the big touchdown, it's like you love that stuff.
Because you hate it when you're on the other side when that happens, I'm sure, right?
Exactly.
What is your favorite moment as a Ram so far through only a half dozen games? You've had some good ones.
Ooh.
Was it that first sack in Seattle?
It might have been the first sack. Yeah, I think it was that first sack. It was just a crazy moment, in my first game. And then really what it was another stunt that I was working in tandem with AD on. And I don't talk to him about this a whole lot, but obviously he's a guy that I've looked up to a ton. And so to be able to make that play, be able to go over and celebrate with him, and then being able to come back the next play and he makes, the sack, and we go off the field celebrating. That was just a big time moment. And definitely for that to be the first in my career, that was huge.
What you said there, is it like, I don't want to be the rookie who's fanboying Aaron a little bit? And
also because he has to trust me, on a day-to-day basis. So it's like, let's not be fanboy. Let's just go out, put in the work, and get them to trust me, and just go and do my job. And you can fanboy later.
Yeah, the time will come where you'll get the autograph and the merchandise and the things for your auctions and whatnot down the road. I know it is a big rookie class. It's a historically large Rams rookie class, and you're part of it. I wonder, who have you bonded with? Who have you formed friendships with?
Yeah, a lot of the guys. Me and BY had trained at Exos together before coming here. Warren was down there with us too. He was in a different lifting group, so I hung out a little bit more with BY. But he was one of those guys that, when I got the call on draft night, he was the first person that I called after being able to celebrate with the family, because I saw that he was coming here too. So that's one of them. And then Steve, I'm really, really tight with Steve. We'll just sit down in the locker room after practice and have conversations for 30 minutes to an hour. And then I'll go back and text my fiance and be like, sorry, I was talking to Steve again. And she's like, I know. But yeah, that's Steve. I'm pretty tight with Davis Allen as well, and Puka, and our girlfriends / wives / fiancés have gotten together too, and they all enjoy each other's company. So there's some nights where we'll all go out to dinner. There's some nights on away games where they'll have a little sleepover. So being able to have really, a really talented rookie class, but a rookie class that's down to earth, and that's just really fun to be around. And the partners that they've chosen as well are very down to earth, really fun to be around, and just make this whole experience a lot better and a lot more comfortable.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And it's Steve's birthday, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
You already sing to him?
Well, not sing to him. I dapped him up and told him happy birthday, but maybe.
So I don't know if this is part of your film study or not, because it's on the other side of the ball, but did it cross your radar, the edge rusher he put on his back on the throw to the end zone that Puka almost snagged? Have you seen that play yet?
I have not.
No worries, but go find it because it's awesome. To see Steve Alaric's locked up on this edge rusher, who's actually Zach Thomas's brother, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
And Steve comes over as a second kind of pass blocker because he's got nothing to do and just absolutely wipes him out and then does like this little skip of celebration. So no worries, you haven't seen it yet. That's what editing's for.
Yeah.
But I highly recommend it.
His celebrations are pretty funny too. Steve.
To see someone at that size celebrate.
Jump around.
I'm glad you like it as much as I do. I know it's too early in this week for a Skadden report on your next opponent, but just being a fan of football, I wonder when I say Pittsburgh Steelers come into your house, what's that feel like?
Yeah. Well, my best friend had been a Steelers fan for a long time. He doesn't watch too much football anymore nowadays, but I think back to when Tebow was in Denver and that playoff game, and I was rooting for Denver because I love Tebow. And I think of that playoff game and that overtime win for the Broncos. That was a good time. But when I think of Steelers, I think of, of course, the steel curtain. I think of defense, and I've been able to watch their defense a little bit too, just on our scouting our opponents. And they played some similar opponents as well. So I'm looking forward to what they bring on that standpoint. I haven't been able to watch too much of their offense yet. That'll kick off tonight and tomorrow. But, I know they have a lot of talented players, a lot of young players too, like us. But of course, not as young, people in their second, third years. But, I know that it's going to be a challenge, and I'm super excited to move forward with it.
Kobie, as fun as that was to talk some ball with you, like I'm even looking forward to your personal story so much more, because I think it enriches everything you're doing on the field. Let me start by asking, when was the first time you can recall thinking, I'm going to be in the NFL?
Oof. So 2 very different answers. So I remember as, even as a first grader, when they asked us, what do you want to be? I always wrote down I wanted to be in the NFL. And so I always had that dream as a kid, but that moment where it was like, I'm going to be in the NFL, that might have hit me last year at Wake Forest, but it really hit me, going into draft day, like the weeks leading up into that. It didn't really hit me up until then. I always thought that I had a good chance and I was always working for it, but it's just a surreal moment, and, not a lot of people get that opportunity. So for me, it was always work. And if you get there, when you get there, keep working. So.
The reason I start there, I think you get this, is because you were lightly recruited coming out of high school, Fairfax County, Virginia. Why? Why do you think that was?
I don't know. I think I had some solid years. Sophomore year, I played more JV. We had a really good team. We went to states. We won states freshman year, went to states sophomore year. I really started playing varsity junior year, had a solid year. But I think I really shone a lot my senior year. And, I guess most of the recruiting gets done before then. And I don't really recall why I wasn't really highly recruited, but I wasn't. And so there's a time where I started looking at, okay, how am I going to pay for college? Like, I know that I want to pursue music in college as well. Am I going to, need to get a music scholarship somewhere? I always wanted to play college football, but it was like, how can I do both? And if football's not going to fund me, then what will? Do I go get a music scholarship somewhere and try to play football and walk onto the football team, however that works out? So
you get to the critical juncture and you don't have a firm scholarship offer for football yet, correct? And so I read that when Richmond stopped by to meet with one of your friends, you basically crashed his in-home visit.
Yeah. That was my best friend. Is he's actually coming up. He's the one who likes the Steelers, and he's coming up this week for the game too.
Is he?
But yeah, so
Caleb Brooks.
Yeah, so it was really cool, hearing that they were coming by, and he was, pretty heavily recruited coming out of high school. Lengthy guy, edge rusher. He was really, really good. And so my uncle, his dad, just called me and said, "Hey, Richmond's stopping by. Like, you should come over and show face, introduce yourself, maybe see if they have any opportunities, any walk-on spots, whatever." So,
man, I'm glad you did that. I'm sure you are too.
Yeah.
Richmond is a Division I FCS program. So they have scholarships, but they have to be strategic with their resources at the same time. This isn't USC that we're talking about. The Spiders wanted you as a preferred walk-on, as I understand.
Yes.
And were they still uncertain what position you would play? Because I know you'd been on offense, tight end, lineman.
I don't remember if I had the choice or if I knew that I was a little bit more confident at tight end at the time, just because some of the techniques and stuff on the defensive line, I hadn't really been taught too much of D-line technique. Really in high school, it was just, there was a lot of wing T teams. So whoever was pulling, I knew they were pulling whichever way, and whoever was looking at me, I knew they were down blocking. So it was cross face, go make a play. And that's kind of how I played it. But I felt confident in just being a physical presence at tight end. And so I came in as a tight end, gave me about 2 weeks of that. And they said, this guy's got to go to D-line.
Well, so here's the thing, though, is it's a private school. It's an expensive school. You mentioned paying for school. Was it as simple as I've got a year to make this right? I've got a year to prove myself. Otherwise, I'm probably going to have to figure something else out.
Yeah. So me and my parents actually sat down and had a conversation before, I made the decision ultimately to go to Richmond. And there's some D3 schools and D2 schools who had reached out. Washington and Lee had offered me a pretty solid financial aid package that included some work study. And ultimately we came up with, if I went to a D3 school, I'd have all 4 years there. We had a good financial aid package and could pay for it all. But going to a school like Richmond, again, private school, expensive, there was good financial aid. But, my parents ultimately were like, you have 1 year to go and chase this. And if you don't get a scholarship in this first year, then you're probably going to have to go to community college. And so for me, I don't even remember what clicked in for me at that time, but I had to go with Richmond. It had the football that I wanted to. I wanted to compete at a high level. I knew that I could compete at a high level, and I knew that I hadn't gotten the looks that, the opportunities that I think that I maybe deserved. But I knew that I could go in and work, and through just working, I'd figure my way out. And so I really think that being able to walk on at Richmond changed my life because, being a freshman, a lot of times you're worried about, okay, what's the party scene like? How do I get acclimated to this school? How do I make sure that I'm fitting in? For me, the only thing on my mind was go get a scholarship. So everything was football. It was workout, film study, eat right, gain all the weight that they wanted me to when I transitioned from tight end to D tackle. And I had, one singular focus and a quieted mind about it. And, it's a blessing that, I was able to pick up that scholarship in the first year, but it was just like I was so focused on that I didn't have anything else to worry about.
Yeah, it took less than a year for you to get that scholarship, for them to realize they had something special in you. Coming out of the pandemic in the 21 season, you're the CAA Defensive Player of the Year. 5 years at Richmond, then you jump to the ACC and Wake. 1 year with the Demon Deacons, I read that you earned a Pro Football Focus grade of in 2022. That was second best in Power 5 behind only Georgia's Jalen Carter. Whatever happened to him? He turned out okay in the National
He's doing his
Football
thing
League
right now.
But despite that, Kobie, no combine invite. Did that surprise you?
It didn't really surprise me. Just from being able to work out at Exos, I heard a lot of guys were getting all of these, interviews with different teams and hearing how they're talking to different teams, and everybody has a busy schedule. I got home from Exos and, I was on the game playing Rocket League or whatever it was, and, very limited calls. So it didn't quite surprise me. I thought that I definitely deserved it. I felt that I put together, within that year and all of the work that I did at Richmond that I should have been invited. But, once that came in and was finalized, that was just an extra chip on my shoulder. And that just told me that I still got to go and prove some people that I belong here,
I love that you end up with the Rams too, who have taken a completely different approach to the combine and to their pre-draft process in general. It seems fitting in that way. But given all that backstory that we just walked through, and back to the original question, when did you think you might be an NFL player? What was the feeling like to go in the top 100 to become a Los Angeles Ram when you got that call?
Yeah, that feeling was incredible. I knew that it was going to be either the Rams or somebody else would have jumped to get me before the Rams, but I knew that I'd have a home here. And, being able to talk to some of my high school coaches and them telling me, hey, the Rams stopped by, like they wanted to pull your high school transcripts. Can we pull them? And I was like, yeah, I got good grades. Like you can pull them. But to feel that interest and being able to, hop on the phone with Coach Haney and Coach AC, I could tell that the interest was there, connections were there. So when I heard my name called, that was just a crazy moment to celebrate with me and my family. And it was such a blessing and still, of course, continues to be to this day.
You're they're pulling your transcripts and finding out you're a better student than you are even a football player.
Right.
You double majored in music and math in college. It's really incredible. If I'm following the chronology correctly, though, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kobie and the Rams, not the most important marriage that's going to come out of April 2023.
Not at all.
Because a few days before the draft, you proposed?
Yes, I did. 1 week or about a week before the draft happened, I proposed. I had to make sure that she knew, because I figured I'd be moving away from home somehow. I had to make sure that she knew that she was the one that I was choosing for the rest of my life. And I'm blessed. And she's out here with me, and, being able to build our lives together, even throughout all of this transition of moving all the way across the country. But being able to rely on each other has been a huge blessing.
Her name is Alyssa. Alyssa. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. All right. We'll wrap things up here on Rams Revealed, as we do each week, with a segment we call 3 and Out. The bit here is, if you get all 3 of these questions correct, I'll make a donation to the LA Rams Foundation on your behalf. Okay. And since you have such a passion for music, which we'll get into, I wanted to center this entire 3 and Out segment around music. Kobie, for those who don't know, sang baritone in Richmond's choir. Mm-hmm. Your nickname is the Conductor for very obvious reasons, music and football related. In fact, our first question here, our first test, we saw you working that baton after dropping Geno Smith in Seattle. But I think we need the whole defense to be ready to fill out this orchestra on your next sack for like a team celebration. So I'm going to give you a few teammates. I need you to assign them a role, maybe an instrument for your next sack. Okay, let's start with Aaron.
I'll put him on the triangle.
You're going to have Aaron do the triangle in the backdrop of your next sack.
That would just be amazing, wouldn't it? You'd imagine that he's on some big instrument, but he's just on the triangle.
Okay, how about BY, since you said you're close?
Oh, BY. What would I put him on? I might put him on maybe the cello.
Okay.
Nah, I'll take the violin, actually.
The violin for BY. Give me one more. A teammate of your choosing and an instrument that you want in the backdrop of your next sack celebration.
Ooh. And it has to be orchestra based, or can I will put you can touch whatever
you like.
I feel like I will put Jordan Fuller on some drums or something. He kind of feels like a drums guy.
I love it. Okay, I cannot wait. Maybe this week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Question number 2, by way of your education, Centerville High School?
Yes.
And the University of Richmond. You're connected to 2 of the great musicians of all time, in my estimation. I don't know if you know this, but if you could choose only one of these 2 to partner with on your hit single, would it be Ludacris or Lil Dicky?
That's such a loaded question. There's no right answer.
Do you know that they went to your schools?
Yeah, I know that Lil Dicky went to Richmond and he got a business degree from there. And he actually hopped on a Zoom call during COVID with us. Yeah,
really?
Yeah. So for that reason, I might choose Lil Dicky. And I know Ludacris went to Centerville.
Only for 1 year, though. Yeah. So you're going with kind of the longer running history. Mm-hmm. And lastly, this is sincere. Would you like to sing the national anthem at SoFi someday?
Ooh, someday, yes. I remember I sang it before a game in high school before, but I wasn't really playing all that much. So that allowed, me to kind of focus in on singing the national anthem. It's a little bit more difficult when you have a big plate to carry, going into the game, and then obviously all the nerves of singing the national anthem. Right. But someday, 100%. I
mean, because there's complicating factors there. I get it. Maybe if you could arrange the coin toss such that, the Rams are going to take the football first, and put a little space between that performance and your first rep on defense.
I could breathe a little bit.
Obviously, there's a lot to like in your life, in your football career, and thank you for having us for a small part of it here before your off day. Good luck against the Pittsburgh Steelers and with the rest of your rookie season.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Kobie Turner, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for being with us for this edition of Rams Review.
Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on our videos.